hands together for that. And welcome to the beautiful garden of Esperanza Alta. You agree that this is a fine location for the ceremony. How was the trip up the hill? Yeah, also enjoyable. I get that. My name is Ardene Sirjoo, and I'm delighted to be your host this evening at this celebration of Caribbean books and writers. Let me begin by acknowledging some special guests on behalf of all of the speakers to follow, and so that way you will all be absolved of the burden of protocol. Okay. I'm hoping I could read this handwriting, Nicholas. I'm so sorry. Okay. But we will proceed. Marina Salandi Brown, founder and president of the Bocas Lit Fest, and all fellow Bocas Lit Fest directors. Jean-Claude Counon, CEO of the Bocas Lit Fest. Nicholas Laughlin, festival director of the NGC Bocas Lit Fest. Dawn Thomas, group CEO of One Caribbean Media. I don't think she's here, but we're very happy to have Douglas Wilson, General Manager, Trinidad Express Newspapers, and Director, One Caribbean Media. Verlia Kwan Vai, NGC Vice President, welcome. We also have with us Mr. Dan Martineau, Director of the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago. Don't be shy. Edwidge Dantica, Chief Judge for the 2024 OCM Bocas Prize for Caribbean Literature, and fellow judges Kanisya Lubran, Rabindranath Maharaj, and D. Alyssa Trotz. Equal applause, equal applause. Diplomats and representatives of diplomatic missions, prize winners, sponsors, and partners from Trinidad and Tobago and abroad, writers, friends, and volunteers, members of the media, and everyone watching on the festival live stream. I think the speakers would agree I've done you all a favor of absolving you all of that duty. So this prize ceremony is one of the most greatly, eagerly anticipated events in the Caribbean's literary calendar. It is the occasion to celebrate the 3 winners of the OCM Bocas Prize in the categories of poetry, fiction, and nonfiction, and hear which of these 3 extraordinary books has been chosen as the overall winner. We also celebrate the winner of the 2024 Bocas Henry Swanzy Award for Distinguished Service to Caribbean Letters. Tonight's event is one of the brightest highlights of the NGC Bocas Lit Fest, running for the past 3 days. The festival's rich and diverse program, bringing together dozens of writers, is made possible through the support of many sponsors and partners. At the top of that list is the festival's title sponsor, the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago. Please welcome Mr. Dan Martineau, Director of the Board of NGC.
Good evening. Can you all hear me? Okay. Mm-hmm. You may have heard the term black gold and certainly green technologies. But if the term orange economy makes you think about citrus, you'll be forgiven for that error. Although the term is unfamiliar, everyone knows the orange economy. For many here, it is their bread and butter. This subset of economic activities includes the creative and cultural industries, which generate value from intellectual property, the visual and performing arts, music, design, and of course, literature. According to a World Bank report, the orange economy employs nearly 50 million people worldwide and contributes over 3% of global GDP. However, that figure is projected to grow to 10% by 2030. Given the voracious appetite for creative products in our digital age, the global books market alone is expected to expand by 2.5% each year during this decade. It may be sacrilege to spout numbers at an event dedicated to words, but there's an important message inside these statistics that I wish to highlight. At a time when the Caribbean is seeking to build economic resilience in a warming world, our creativity is a bountiful resource with a hungry market that we can look to monetize. Orange can be our new black gold. Ladies and gentlemen, within this analogy, the NGC Bocas Lit Fest is a creative perspective. Since its inception, the festival has been searching for and mining the literary talent of our people, recognizing its value from a cultural, academic, and economic perspective. Over the years, the festival has unearthed and polished scores of young writers and opened new chapters for established authors and poets looking to reach bigger audiences. Through this festival, the industry and ecosystem around the region's literary arts have seen impressive growth in the past decade, and the momentum remains strong. NGC has been delighted to partner with this organization through that journey because we are fueled by the same desire to create exceptional value from our national resources. For many years, we invested in building capacity across different fields of endeavor. Energy, yes, but also sport, education, arts, and culture. Because we see the potential therein to diversify our economic base. We have been working to show our young people that there are alternative career paths aligned with every passion. Bocas has been doing similar work through the recently inaugurated Bocas Youth Fest to highlight to our young people the market niches for literary talent, and indeed the universal importance of literary skill sets in the job market. NGC and Bocas have also been aligned on the importance of taking our business beyond our borders, showing the world what Trinidad and Tobago has to offer. Bocas has been showcasing Caribbean literature across the region and the USA for many years. And in 2022, NGC was extremely proud to help the festival cross the Atlantic to tour the UK. This globalization not only helps market our existing books and talent, but can show aspiring writers that the horizons are expanding for local stories. This is a burgeoning industry with opportunity aplenty. What we need to do more of, however, is push our local literature just as aggressively within local markets, incorporate it into school curricula, so that we can whet the appetite of our young writers and ignite the kind of interest that we will need to keep the industry sustainable. We need to keep sowing those orange seeds. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm mindful that this evening belongs to books and storytellers, so let me give way. I look forward, to, as you do, to learning who has been adjudged the overall winner of the coveted OCM Bocas Prize. I wish you all three contenders, Nicole Seeley, Kevin Jarrett Hussein, and Sophia Sinclair, the very best of luck. Whatever the outcome, you are already winners, and your achievements in literature perfectly illustrate the wealth of potential in our orange economy. Finally, to the Bocas team, under the directorship of Marina Solandi Brown and CEO Jean-Claude Conan, thank you for giving our stories a space to be heard and shared. Congratulations on every success you have achieved for this festival, and we wish you the very best as you seek to become more. I thank you all for your time, and enjoy the evening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Martino, and of course, special thanks to the entire team at NGC for their steadfast support. Before we get to tonight's honorees, we want to take a few minutes to remember a recently departed writer who was an old friend of the NGC Bocas Lit Fest, Professor Edward Bowe, Jamaican poet, critic, scholar, and literary mentor, and joint winner of the 2021 Bocas Henry Swanzy Award, passed away last December. He was a guest at our very first festival in 2011, returning in 2017 as chief judge of the OCM Bocas Prize. Over his long career at the University of the West Indies, Eddie Bowe, as he was known to his friends and many of the readers, helped shape a distinctly Caribbean approach to criticism of our literature, grounded in the Caribbean's unique historical experience. He was almost equally well known for his witty, elegant, insightful poems. Here to read one of Eddie Boer's own poems in his memory is Michael A. Buckner, professor at the University of Alberta, former chair of the Department of Literatures and English at the UWI's Mona campus, and former student and later colleague and friend of Professor Boer. Let's welcome him.
It was the singing. It was the singing, girl, the singing. It was that full me throat and blind me eye with sunlight. Parson preached good and didn't give we no long meter that day. And Judge Hackett make us laugh to hear how from school days Gertie was a rebel. And everybody proud how Sharon talked strong about her mother and hold her tears. But the singing was sermon and lesson and eulogy and more. And it was only when we raised, "How great thou art," that I really feel the sadness and the glory, wave after wave. Daddy Walters draw a bass from somewhere we never hear him go before. And Maisie lift a descant and nobody ask her. But it was the gift they bring. It was what they had to give and greater than the paper money overflowing the collection plate. It was then I know we was people together. Never mind the bad-minded and the carried out. And I even find it in my heart to forgive that ungrateful Agnes for everything she do to me. And I sing, and the feeling swelling in my chest till I had to stop and swallow hard. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great. And we was girls again together, Gertie and me by the river. And then the singing was like a wide water, and Gertie laughing and waving to me from the other side. Girl, I can't too well describe it. It was like the singing was bigger than all of we and making us better than we think we could be. And all I asking you, girl, is that when my time come to go, don't worry, make no fuss about pretty coffin. And no long eulogy. Just a quiet place where gunman and the drug addict don't haunt. And if they sing me home like how they sing Gertie, I say, thank you, Jesus. My soul will sleep in peace. To Eddie Boer.
I think we can go for another round of applause. Thank you, Michael Buckner. Over the past 14 years, the NGC Bocas Lit Fest has grown into the biggest annual literary event in the Anglophone Caribbean. The hardworking and dedicated team behind the festival and this prize ceremony are led by Festival Director Nicholas Laughlin. Please welcome him.
Writers and readers, prize winners and judges, sponsors and partners, colleagues and friends, good evening. Over the past 14 years, the NGC Bocas Lit Fest has evolved into a kind of annual family reunion for Caribbean writers and readers, an occasion for our globally dispersed literary community to come together to share stories and ideas, to meet old acquaintances and make new ones, to imagine and conspire and debate, and to revel in the gloriously unruly vitality of Caribbean writing. So as I look out at this gorgeous audience, full of familiar faces, this evening feels very much like a family event, undoubtedly a highlight of our festival, as we celebrate the winners of the 2024 OCM Bocas Prize and Bocas Henry Swanzy Award. The Bocas family, if I may presume to enfold you all in that description, like many Caribbean families, is big and complicated and always growing, full of pumpkin vine relations and honorary kin, restless siblings, and long-lost cousins, often affectionate, sometimes rivalrous, because a family reunion needs a good argument or two, right? And in this case, connected not by physical bloodlines, but by a different kind of DNA, a shared passion for stories and words that are rooted in Caribbean space and place, in our past, present, and potential futures, our connections to the broader human world, but also the elements that make us unique. That same DNA is shared by the OCM Bocas Prize, which after nearly a decade and a half, I can say with confidence is the most coveted and most influential award for Caribbean books, exemplifying and amplifying the work of our writers to audiences everywhere. For 14 years, the prize has been generously sponsored by One Caribbean Media, a media group that plays a vital daily role in the lives of citizens across the region, and a vital role through the OCM Bocas Prize in our collective intellectual life. Every year, many dozens of new books are published by Caribbean authors, and of the cohort published last year, our assiduous judges had the task of choosing 9 outstanding titles, making up the shortlist in the 3 genre categories. And they are, in the poetry category, Self-Portrait as Othello by Jason Allen Payzant, School of Instructions by Aishian Hutchinson, and The Ferguson Report and Erasure by Nicole Seeley. In the fiction category, Ocean Stirrings, a work of fiction in tribute to Louise Langdon Norton Little, working mother and activist, mother of Malcolm X and 7 siblings. That is the full title, by Merle Collins. Hungry Ghosts by Kevin Jared Hussein, and You Were Watching from the Sand by Juliana Lamy. In the non-fiction category, Harvesting Haiti, Reflections on Unnatural Disasters by Miriam J.A. Chauncey. Equal to Mystery, In Search of Harold Sunny Ladu by Christopher Laird, and How to Say Babylon, a memoir by Sophia Sinclair. I would like you to applaud all of the long-listed books and authors, please. They are not all 9 of them are not with us this evening, but we celebrate them all, and we love all their books. So from this already extraordinary list, the judges then faced the challenge of choosing a winner in each category. The authors of the 3 genre categories, Nicole Seeley, Kevin Jared Hussein, and Sophia Sinclair, of course, are with us here tonight, and you'll soon meet them and hear excerpts from their books. I don't want to speak at length about our 3 winning books, especially since I'm far less qualified than the judges who will introduce them. But when I consider these books, I'm struck by the ways they quarrel with history, to borrow a phrase from Edward Bohr, whose poem we heard a few minutes ago from Michael. To borrow the phrase, but perhaps twist Eddie Bohr's original meaning. Nicole Seeley's book, The Ferguson Report, responds to a tragically specific and unique moment in Ferguson, Missouri in 2014, which was also tragically not unique, belonging as it does to a centuries-long history of racist violence. Kevin Jared Hussein's Hungry Ghosts, set in Trinidad in the 1940s, explores the legacies of East Indian indenture colliding with rapid and unsettling social change in a post-war colony a decade and a half from independence. And Sophia Sinclair's How to Say Babylon is a coming-of-age narrative that is also a story about how the colonial and post-independence history of Jamaica and the society's intersecting tensions of race, class, gender, and religion shape the most intimate relations of family. All 3 books, in their distinctive ways, contend with history with a small h, history with a big H, even history in inverted commas. They quarrel with dominant narratives and insidious amnesias that distort or damage us, or distract us from understanding who we are and what we are capable of. We turn to our writers for many reasons, sometimes even contradictory ones, for the basic pleasure of stories and language, for knowledge, for reassurance and comfort, to be reminded that the world we find ourselves in sometimes deserves celebration, but often demands anger and mourning and action. So whether in Haiti, 900 miles away from us, or in Gaza, 6,000 miles away, or right here in Trinidad and Tobago, on this ground beneath our feet, Our crises are deeply entangled with a history that we should and must quarrel with, struggle with, reimagine, and rewrite. On the face of it, these three prize winners are very different in their backgrounds and respective life trajectories, but pay attention to something else they have in common. None of them had yet published their debut book when the first OCM Bocas Prize was awarded back in 2011. This reaffirms something I'm sure we are all thrillingly aware of. We are in no danger of running out of fresh literary talent in the Caribbean. And as each new writer raises their voice, Caribbean literature grows richer, more complicated, more wondrously strange, and yet wondrously familiar. If you require further convincing, cast your eyes across our festival program and the many new writers, debut writers, early career writers of all ages presenting their stories and ideas. Look and listen out for our Bocas Breakthrough Fellows, 5 writers from Barbados, Jamaica, and Trinidad and Tobago who will share their work in progress at a special event tomorrow. Or the writers in our New Talent Showcase yesterday. The teenage writers in the latest chapbook published by our We Lit Youth Writing Project, sponsored by the J.B. Fernandez Memorial Trust and launched yesterday as well. The even younger participants in our annual Children's Storytelling Caravan, who see their own stories published each year and distributed across the country. Or the bold young spoken word poets who will perform in tomorrow night's First Citizens National Poetry Slam finals. I'm happy to say it over and over because I believe it profoundly. The most important work we do at the Bocas Lit Fest, here at the festival and year-round, is to seek out, support, and make opportunities for new writers and help them fully explore and express their talent for their sake, for the sake of their future readers, and for the sake of our collective struggle to build a better world despite the obstacles and the odds. Personally, if I'm honest, I often feel daunted by those obstacles and those odds. And then I turn to my bookshelves to be re-persuaded that as people of the Caribbean, however we define what that is, quarreling with history and quarreling with everything that tries to limit us, our shared potential is immeasurable. Book by book, chapter by chapter, poem by poem, even sentence by sentence, our writers prove this to us and to readers everywhere. So I end with this to all our writers. Please, tell your stories, the stories we don't yet know we need to hear. Try your tongue, disturb the peace, wake the town and tell the people, and quarrel with history. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nicholas, for your reassuring words. Now it is time to shift our attention to the first of tonight's honorees, the winner of the 2024 Bocas Henry Swanzy Award for Distinguished Service to Caribbean Letters. To introduce you to our awardee, please welcome the person who first imagined what this festival could be a decade and a half ago. The founder of the Bocas Lit Fest and president of its board of directors, Marina Solandi Brown.
Thank you, Ardene. Good evening, everyone. The Bocas Henry Swanzy Award for Distinguished Services to Caribbean Letters, established in 2013, named for the BBC radio producer Henry Swanzy, whose tenure at the Caribbean Voices program from 1946 to 1954 engaged the work of West Indian writers with insight and depth. Following in the footsteps of Jamaican Una Marson, who founded Caribbean Voices, Swanzy played a catalyzing role in supporting Caribbean writers and promoting their work to an international audience. Created by the Bocas Lit Fest in Swanzy's memory, this award recognizes the contributions of editors, publishers, critics, broadcasters, and others who've devoted their careers to developing Caribbean literature. These champions of Caribbean letters often work behind the scenes and without fanfare. Bocas Henry Swanzy awardees are chosen by the festival and honored annually at the NGC Bocas Lit Fest. In the past 11 years, the award has been presented to a distinguished and diverse series of Caribbean literary professionals and advocates. John LaRose and Sarah White of New Beacon Books in 2013, literary critics Kenneth Ramchan and Gordon Roller in 2014, editor and broadcaster Margaret Busby in 2015, publisher Jeremy Pointing of Paper Tree Press in 2016, bookseller Joan Dayal of Paper Based Bookshop in 2017, editor and scholar Anne Wormsley in 2018, publisher Ian Randall in 2019, scholar and editor Kamal Brathwaite in 2020, literary critics Eddie Bohr and Mervyn Morris in 2021, educators and scholars Funsho Aijina and Merle Hodge in 2022, and critic and scholar Sandra Pouchet-Paquet in 2023. I might say you would see the huge diversity of the Caribbean and the diaspora in that list. It would give me great personal pleasure. It gives me great personal pleasure that the recipient of the 2024 Bocas Henry Swanzy Award is publisher and editor Arif Ali, founder of Hansip Publications. We recognize his tenacious dedication to giving Caribbean and Black British voices a creative platform when they were denied it by countless others. Arif Ali entered the arena of publishing without any formal training. The world of 1950s England, which Ali faced as a migrant from then British Guyana, did not predispose itself to the basic circulation, far less adulation of West Indian stories. Ali, who sold his greengrocer's shop in North London to fund the creation of Hansip Publications, stood against the careless and willful erasure of Caribbean perspectives. At Hansip, he vowed such stories would not only be afforded space, they would be allowed to shine. Born in the village of Danielstown in British Guyana in 1935, Ali arrived in London in 1957 intending to launch his studies in economics. As it does, marriage and other practical pathways presented themselves. Then the publishing bug bit. He used a Gestetner printing machine to reproduce articles from the various Caribbean newspapers he sold in his greengrocer's shop. This hands-on, frugal venture, which he dubbed the West Indian, sparked into a success, spurring him on to create Hansip Publications in 1970. Which he named for his parents, Hanif and Sibi. Ali's acumen as a newspaper producer grew with his 1971 launch of the weekly West Indian Digest. Hansip's first book publication, West Indians in Britain in 1973, was edited by Ali himself. It functioned as a who's who of the migrant communities whose efforts and achievements received little or no fanfare anywhere. The publication proved so popular that several editions were issued, the fifth in 1982. As decades progressed, Hansip's attention turned more and more to full-length book publications in every conceivable genre. Now over 50 years old and going strong, Hansip Publication boasts a catalogue of over 300 titles and remains open for submissions. In fact, one of the books that's going to be featured in tomorrow's program is a Hansip publication, and it's a very handsome one too. Arif Ali, now retired from the day-to-day business of his publishing house, remains indomitably at the center of its mission to make publishing accessible, informative, and within reach of Caribbean citizens at home and in the wider diaspora. All who encountered Arif Ali will always remember the enormous energy and passion he injected into the enterprise. Although he could not be here with us this evening, we take this opportunity to congratulate, celebrate, and thank Arif Ali and Hansip, and look forward to formally presenting the award to him at an event in London later this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Marina, and many congratulations to Arif Ali, and of course, many thanks to all of the Hansip Publications team for their sterling work supporting Caribbean writers over the many decades. And now for a change in tempo, quite literally, as we pay tribute to someone who has been an ally and supporter of the Bocas Litfest over the past 8 years. It was recently announced that Mark Luquan, president of the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago since 2016, will step down later this year. He has had a distinguished career as an engineer and a corporate executive, and during his time as NGC president, he has been an unwavering supporter of the festival. But as many in this audience know, Mr. Luquan has an equally distinguished career as a musician, composer, and songwriter with a passion for the steel pan, Trinidad and Tobago's national musical instrument. Although Mark Luquan is not here with us tonight due to a travel obligation, we are delighted to share one of his compositions for your pleasure and also in tribute to his friendship with the festival. The piece is titled My Home, and the arrangement you'll hear tonight is for solo pan, performed by Richard Barrow. Please welcome him.
I'm not going now. Probably best I play that. Good night, everyone. Good night. Pleasant good night, everyone. My name is Richard Barrow. I'm a member of the National Steel Symphony Orchestra. It's an absolute pleasure to be here to be able to pay tribute to the great Mr. Mark Luquan. I've benefited personally from him as well, so could we give him a round of applause? I know he's not here. Playing one of his most amazing compositions. All right, so let's take it into the next part. Hey. what we fighting for. We have want what we fighting for. We have want no war. How will you build it up, for our children, yeah. How will you build, yeah. How will you build, yeah. For our children, how will you build, yeah. How will you build, hey, cause all I we is one, all I we is one, all I we is one, yeah. All I we, yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much, Richard. I think we can put our hands together again for him for braving the surround sound. Thank you so much, Richard. All right, and now to the highlight of this evening's program, the 14th annual OCM Bocas Prize for Caribbean Literature. From its founding in 2011, the OCM Bocas Prize has been sponsored by One Caribbean Media, whose dedication to supporting Caribbean books and writers includes their year-round coverage of the Bocas Lit Fest through their TV and radio stations and newspapers. We are delighted to have with us this evening Douglas Wilson, General Manager, Trinidad Express Newspapers, and Director, One Caribbean Media. Let's welcome him.
Thank you. It appears as if they know when to stop that music. So let me start and finish, hopefully before they resume. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. And all protocols observed. I'll try to elevate the voice a bit so that you can still hear. And I greet you on behalf of One Caribbean Media. Edwidge Dantuka, Haitian-born American novelist and short story writer. Her first novel, Breath, Eyes, and Memory, was published in 1994 and went on to become a candidate on Oprah Winfrey's book club selection. Among her other laurels was her selection for the Neustadt International Book Prize, a biennial literary award run by the University of Oklahoma, and the Lannan Literary Fellowship in 2004. Dion Brand. First of all, she's listed in some international reviews as a Canadian. Well, she has made Canada her home, and after many years of being domiciled there, she is, however, a Trinidad and Tobago-born novelist and writer of great international standing. She was born in Guayaguayare. She went to school at Naparima Girls High and then to the University of Toronto. She's described in one posting as a poet, novelist, and essayist and documentarian. She was the third poet laureate to be declared in Toronto. And among her many laurels is the Canadian Governor General's Literary Award for English Language Poetry. This is the caliber of talent, scholarship, and renown that the leadership, the management, and organizers of Bocas Listfest seek to make available for our greater edification and enlightenment year after year at this special event called the Bocas Listfest. Of course, I should put NGC in front of that. OCM, as you know, is an organization incorporating newspapers, radio, and television. So it also gives us great pride to note that one of the sessions of this year's festival will also feature what many have described as the fantastic work of a newspaperman for over 2 decades. He just happens to have been the father of the late, great V.S. Naipaul. Among people who heard it from their elders, the work of Sipasad Naipaul was legendary. It is said to be 25 years worth of writing originally published in a local newspaper and inaccessible to readers for over 70 years. The book's publisher makes the case, one reviewer has said, quote, that the very best journalism has the right to be considered as seriously as literary fiction. This is seen to be the case, particularly in a country which has prized the newspaper columnist who combines insight with high style. And in that, Sipasad Naipaul claims status of pioneer, unquote. We at OCM take special note of this as we continue to reach for higher standards in our professional performance every single day. This is the kind of environment which gives comfort and which we reach out with our partners toward the achievement. And it is why we continue to support the staging of this wonderful annual festival year after year. Over and above that, it is our distinct pleasure to pay tribute to the 3 authors on the shortlist for the OCM Book Fest, Bocas Prize. They are Nicole Seeley for her poetry collection called An Erasure. A piece of fiction work by Kevin Jared Hussein titled Hungry Ghosts, and How to Say Babylon, a memoir by Sophia St. Clair. Congratulations to you all. The Bocas Lit Fest management and its organizers have done well in seeking to revive a spirit which has remained in and around the media environment, if not also in other places where good conversations take place about aspects of our proud social history. In one panel, we were treated to the literary distillations of such eminences as Professor Ken Ramchand, Iranice Lee, and Nivedita Mishra. This discussion also paid tribute to the life and the legacy now left by the recently late Professor Brinsley Samaru, who is said to have been the 4th author of the Naipaul journalistic collection. It cannot be overstated, however, the value which will accrue to persons of interest in the field of journalism, equally as it will be to those who read the newspapers, to learn of a practitioner who was regarded to have been at the top of his game. And we're speaking here about a period almost a century ago. We would have been advised to look out for material which documents invaluably the movements in Caribbean thought, literary culture, and collective activity over a period spanning decades. The Bocas Lit Fest goes to great lengths, reaching further and further in its efforts to demonstrate what it declares on its mast, that it is more than just a literary festival. It is just one of the many factors which we take into account as we at OCM continue to provide the nature and the level of support which we do. Congratulations again to our 3 category winners, and I would like to wish you continued success with all of your future writing endeavors. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Douglas Wilson. Thank you so much for your forbearance, both our speakers and members of the audience. We know that the Bocas team has friends in high places, so we know that they're on it, but there's probably very little we can actually do about what we're hearing. So we're just going to power through the rest of our program. All right. So 3 writers hailing from the U.S. Virgin Islands, Trinidad and Tobago, and Jamaica are the contenders for the overall OCM Bocas Prize, but each is already a winner in their respective genre categories. The overall winner will receive a cash award of $10,000 US, and the other genre winners will each receive $3,000 US. It's time to meet the 3 writers and hear, hopefully, excerpts from their winning books. We begin with the poetry winner. To introduce Nicole Seeley, author of The Ferguson Report and Eurasia, here is the chair of the poetry judges, and herself a former OCM Bocas Prize winner, Canisia Lubrin.
Thank you very much. Good night, everybody. I mean, we love a soundtrack, but it's fine. Amongst these, the circle of winners, I am proud to introduce tonight's winner of the poetry category, Nicole Seeley. I would also just like to offer a brief word of thanks to Bocas for gathering my colleagues, Kayo Chingonye and Anne-Margaret Lim, around these extraordinary books, which led the judges us to celebration, to revelation, and to critique, which is what great art is supposed to do. The Ferguson Report and Erasure takes as its painstaking charge a poetry of realignment. It achieves by visceral and ecstatic restraint the poet's remarkable control of an incremental song, culled from the unspoken yield of racial myths buried in the bedrock of the Ferguson Report. Seeley's is the kind of looking and listening powerful enough to unearth an honest kind of speech from the facade and blurs of official record. Importantly, embracing us all, this poetry gives another new music, entirely Seeley's own, beyond the enclosure of this document that has been the subject of much artistic survey. An ode to acts of such careful work with transcendent attention, the lament underneath being the need to speak such grace from the belly of empire. In the global face of state hazard, these poems peel back the death mask of a perverse spectral container where an almost silent lyric grows, syllable by syllable, into a final life-giving gasp. Nicole Seeley.
Thank you for that very generous introduction. And thank you all for being here and Bocas for seeing something of note in the work. And to the finalists, thank you for your amazing work. Horses, hundreds, neighing. Part reflex, part reason, part particular urge. At gunpoint among them, you are. Less likely to live into the wild go the captive born. Home in the high grass, a barking dog chokes itself against the pull of a tight leash, its neck extending farther than cries for help. A kind of headlight echoing, increasing in reach. The forecast red, the city red, diminishing to the proportion of. Whoever said death comes in threes is an optimist. In the bushes next to the lot across the street, a rustling like backtalk, a deer. The animal out of nowhere flees, seconds too late. A design oversight assigned to that particular beast. On the police radio, a song, a threat, a slip of tongue in the air, moist as an eye. Approached, the deer stiffens, a telltale sign the conditions under which it ran were breaking the skin. Worse, training the mind. Who among us is stunned by how fast rain pours from the sky? Stunned by how the sky, clear at first, self-corrects, as if to say, I mean this, not that, not this. Use of force, force of habit, of nature, force feed, force down, force his hand, force in line, full force, by force, show of force, brute force, blunt force to be reckoned with, force a smile as law enforcement turns out in force, to force, open your door. And then I'll end with the penultimate movement. They say stand in line, so we stand in line. As the line advances, they say stand still. Around us, everything going like cars or clouds. Us, the blur cars pass. The blue clouds dam. They say wait, so we wait. As if for some fragrant flower that unfurls one night a year. They say shh. So like trees we mouth cross sounds of flags beaten to shreds by wind. Our heads twitch, birds watching for what might be stalking. Right before they deploy canines to bite, there's a pause between wails in which you hear your shut eyes dilate. Listen. Thank you.
Congratulations again, Nicole, and thank you so much for that reading. From poetry that addresses tragic violence of the very recent past, we move to a novel set in 1940s Trinidad. The fiction category winner is Kevin Jarrett Hussein, author of the novel Hungry Ghosts. Here to introduce him is the chair of the fiction judges, Rabindranath Maharaj.
Good evening. Nicholas mentioned that we should quarrel with history. I feel we should quarrel with whoever is playing that music there and give them a piece of our mind. Anyways, very often we come across designations to describe a novel as luminous and masterpiece and epic. In the vast majority of cases, these are publishers' blurbs. But in the case of Hungry Ghosts, I think they're very appropriate and they're extremely accurate. This is a brilliant book by any measure. It was rendered in explosively lyrical prose, the ethno-cultural landscape of its imagined world, and it's illuminating and fraught with original spirit. There's a famous British writer who said that every single page sparked something new in her. Every single page was original. And there's so much more to distinguish the book. The language, the structure, the attention to detail, the lyricism. Typically, novels of this size tend to falter somewhere in between. But Kevin manages to keep this, to sustain this sort of lyricism, this kind of narrative strength, the sort of genius that all of the things that went into this book from the beginning to the end. And while I was reading the book, I was kind of wondering how somebody so young could have all this knowledge and speak of this knowledge with so much intimacy about a period, the 1940s. Usually when people write historical novels, even in spite of all the research that they may have done, you get a sense there's a little bit of distance between what has happened and what they're writing about. But reading Kevin's book, it seems as though there's that intimacy, there's no distance. I was also in awe of the casual lyricism, which transformed the familiar landscape into something that was strange and realistic. And Kevin did something that most fiction writers try to do, which is to take something that's familiar and allow us to see it in a new way, so that we would think, wait a minute, I never thought of that before. Or in case of this historical period, I never really realized this before, even though I may have heard or read little books about this and that and so on. But the landscape itself just kind of blew me away, or his descriptions of the landscape. And there were times when I had to pause and read and reread, and sometimes search for the dictionary for a couple of things. This is a remarkable book, as I said. And it's not an exaggeration to say that it's among the best books, the best works of fiction, one of the best novels that I've read, both in the Caribbean and elsewhere, for a very, very long time. And I believe it deserves all the accolades that went its way, and I'm sure the accolades that's going to be cast its way in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Maraj. And thank you all for coming out here tonight. It's a beautiful night. We ought to be grateful it's not death metal or something like that. Congratulations to all the other prize winners and to the Bocas Lit Fest. And just before, I wouldn't talk long, I've met Robin before. He probably doesn't remember me. It was one of my very, very first readings. It was at a UE Campus Lit Week. And he came here for the amazing Absorbing Boy. I got the autograph. And it's nice to, there's many ways with this book I've come full circle, because one of my first, why I even got into thinking about writing as a career in the first place is because of the Bocas Lit Fest. And it's because of Nicholas and Marina. So to be here and to be awarded, I would say, by my own, it truly is an honor and a privilege. Thank you. A father's sins. The man was lost for a long time. He was the 10th child of 11. There was nothing special about him. Nothing that made him stand out, nor that drew the attention of others. Animals never paid him any mind. People never remembered his name. His parents forgot to feed him. He never celebrated a birthday, never received any presents. When he bled, nobody saw. When he bawled, nobody heard. When he tried to declare his love for a girl, she didn't know who he was. Nobody tended to him when he was sick. Nobody knew when he was fed up, and nobody cared when he left. He moved to the capital's port and found a job there. He never considered himself a stevedore, longshoreman, nothing like that. He hadn't given consideration to a title of any kind. He hadn't been scheduled to be aboard that fated day, but a co-worker had taken ill. That day, the ship had been attacked by pirates in the Gulf of Paria, hungry men who smelled of salt. They took everything that had been on board, flue-cured tobacco from Amarillo, Casa Pampero Blanco, Winchester shotguns, boxes of AA shells. Even the engine of the ship was gone by the end of the day. Everything disassembled and splayed, all for resale. The pirates tied up the crew, and when the skipper cursed, they cut his Achilles heel and threw him overboard. They had brought the disembodied leg of some large animal, perhaps a donkey, with them, tossed it in right after, hitting the skipper right on the head. It wasn't long until the reef sharks came. They pulled the skipper under. All his dreams under. Everything he would ever be under. Every memory. The first woman he made love to. The first glimpse of his daughter. The schoolyard brawls he won. The skipper. Everything went under. And after the skipper went over, the lost man helped the pirates throw the rest of his mates overboard, as calmly as if they were jetsam and derelict. Men he had worked with for months, men with wives and children, didn't matter anymore. He tossed in the animal parts after them and watched them be pulled under. It was a decision the man had made in only seconds. Any later, and he would have been pulled under with them. He had to make a choice, and he chose well. But the important thing he realized was that he chose his own fate. He chose his own fate to throw everyone overboard. He chose his own fate before somebody else could choose it for him. And what was lost had finally been found. Through this act, he had convinced the pirates to take him along. They prowled near the southwestern coast, always on the lookout for cargo ships, especially ones that drifted right into the Serpent's Mouth. People paid passage to be taken from Cedros to the Delta Amacuro, but most ended up with the sharks. When they came across a Venezuelan cargo ship, they launched themselves aboard and put pistols to the crew's heads and told them to jump into the sea. And so they did. They took the cargo, took the fish, took the contraband, they smuggled the smugglers. Sometimes they took the women, too. The man kept one for himself for his birthday. He gave her a name and insisted she respond to it from then on. He forbade her from speaking. Even to the two sons she bore for him, one 11 minutes after the other. The man named them Rudra and Rustam. He made sure her maternal instincts remained intact. After plunging into such ugliness, the woman thought she had lost the ability to remain compassionate. She surprised herself when she found room for it still. She regularly bathed and fed her sons, and though they had never spoken, she always cared for them with a gentleness that reminded her that she was human. The man said that when the day finally came, he knew he would kill his family before his enemies could. He would do that before fleeing the country and start over. He told himself that no matter what, this is what he would do. The plans went awry when his wife tried to run away. She had dreamt of herself back in Carupano, a land bathed in golden twilight, dances in the street, pillars of grey wood smoke in the distance, the smell of arepas of arbularia so strong that she could taste them. A long table laden with twine-borne halakas, pastelitos, and chicaron. Women singing, and her in the middle, trying her best to release her voice. But nothing would come out. A phantom in the distance called for her, told her that she could find her voice at the seashore. And so she went, kept walking, until she came to where the shore rocks were as jagged and hot as a scarred malpais. Then the ground opened up, and she fell into the blackness. She found her voice in there and woke up screaming. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations again, Kevin, and thank you for your reading. The third book we honor this evening is also a story about family. In the nonfiction category, the winner is Sophia Sinclair, author of How to Say Babylon, a memoir. To introduce her, please welcome the chair of the nonfiction judges, D. Alyssa Trotz.
Good evening, everyone. Well, Rabin said this reminded him of a Caribbean Oscar Award ceremony with the music, but they didn't really have no rhyme or reason. So let us see if they interrupt to get me off. On behalf of my fellow judges, Rachel Mordecai and Andre Bagu, who it was really an absolute pleasure to work with as we discuss this extraordinary range of 24 books that were entered in the nonfiction category, it is a real honor to introduce How to Say Babylon, a memoir, and to invite Sophia Sinclair to share an excerpt with us. In a moving work of intense power, Sophia Sinclair writes with a novelist's sensibility, demonstrating a remarkable command of narrative from the minute level of the sentence to the seemingly effortless management of a story arc of epic scope. History is not so much her muse as her material. The personal sits alongside the political, in a fugue brimming with intersections of family, race, gender, class within post-independence Jamaica and beyond. It is a memoir that reminds us of the expansive possibilities of creative nonfiction, bringing to the fore, with unforgettable poetic verve, a voice that is fierce, courageous, deeply intelligent and empathetic, its nerve endings vibrating out from a specific experience of Rastafarianism and into the currents of the wider world. A unique and astonishing work of witness. This book, attending to both uneasy colonial legacies and difficult contemporary departures, this is a book that leaves no one behind in its journey to water, that says much more than just Babylon.
I'm going to need the mic a little bit taller. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I really appreciate it. Good evening, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. It really is an honor. I really love Bocas so much, and for me, it's truly a thrill and a delight to be here. Though as a Jamaican, I'm disappointed that the Saturday bashment ended before I came on. True. I'm gonna read a short excerpt from the book, and just for some context, you know, a lot of this book is about me thinking about my belonging, about my autonomy, and for a long time that was all wrapped up in my hair, and the idea of my hair, and how it tethered me to my father, to the Rasta brethren in his circle, and how it fed this sense of unbelonging that I had. And when I told my mother that I did not feel like myself, She said to me, her daughter, simply, "How can I help?" And this scene is what happened next. Mom told me to hold down my head, and I held down my head. She asked me if I was ready, and I said yes. Beside me, the sea breeze made womanly shapes in the lace of my curtain, and no one among us spoke. I don't know who held the scissors or who made the first cut. All I heard were the hinges of the shears locking and unlocking, the blades cutting, and then long black reeds of hair came loose in their quick hands. My dreadlocks fell around me like ruined limbs. I closed my eyes then, because I could not look at what I was losing. I had railed for so long and had not expected it to matter when the moment came. But now I found that it mattered a great deal. My throat burned with a peculiar remorse as all my dreadlocks fell away. For what was Medusa without her snakes? There was hair, so much hair. Dead hair, hair of my gone self, wisps of spiderweb hair, old uniform lint hair, pillow sponge and tangerine strings hair. A whole life pulled itself up by my hair, the hair that locked the year I broke my tooth, hair that locked the day we caught cane ashes in the yard, hair of our lean years, hair of the fat, pollen of marigold's hair, my mother's aloe vera in my hair, my sister's weaving wild ixoras in my hair, the pull of the tides at our sea village hair, grits of sand hair, hair of salt hairs, hair thick with the blood of my own cut wrists, hair of my binding, hair of my unbeautiful wanting, hair of his bitter words, hair of the cruel world, hair roping me to my father's belt, hair wrestling the taunts of bald heads in the street, hair of my lone self, hair wrapped atop the ghost woman in white's hair, red thread of hair, centuries of hair, galloping future of incorrigible hair, all cut away from me. When they were finished, my neck and head were so light they swung unsteady. The tevas had been cut from me, and I was new again, unburdened. Someone different, I told myself. A girl who could choose what happened next. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, Sophia, and thank you for your reading. And not only does the Bocas team have friends in high places, but apparently exceptional negotiation skills. So we can credit them for the silence that allows us to continue with our program. Sophia, hopefully, maybe they'll indulge you later. All right. At the final stage, congratulations again, Sophia, and thank you to all the judges of the 2024 OCM Bocas Prize for their dedication and insight. Adjudicating among such accomplished books is no straightforward task, but we hope you found it an inspiring challenge. At the final stage of judging, the chairs of the three panels assemble to choose an overall winner of the prize, joined by the chief judge. Chairing the final deliberations this year was none other than Edwidge Dantica, acclaimed author, of fiction, memoir, and essays, and herself the winner of the OCM Bocas Prize for Nonfiction in 2011 and the Prize for Fiction in 2020. We are honored to have her at the festival this year as chief judge. Please welcome her to the stage for the announcement we've all been waiting for.
Good evening, everyone. When I was first offered this job, I thought it was a really great honor. I still do, but now I'm a little scared. I want to congratulate the category winners, Nicole Seeley, Sophia Sinclair, and Kevin Jared Hussein. Thank you for your beautiful readings and for your exceptional work. I also want to thank Nicholas, Marina, Jean-Claude, and the entire staff at Bocas who made this evening and all the previous and forthcoming events possible for all of us. I want to thank my fellow judges, Canisia Lubrin, Robin Maharaj, and Dialisa Trotz. They read all the books in each category, and then we gathered, as you heard, the four of us to select the overall winner. Your passion and deep consideration for each book were awe-inspiring. Thank you. Nicole and the Ferguson Report and Erasure, you urge us to listen through redaction and to use a Toni Morrison term, rememory, which does not erase but highlights what might otherwise remain hidden. Kevin and Hungry Ghost, you make us experience, sometimes moment by moment, and other times across generations, what it's like to live physically, metaphorically, and historically with an insatiable yearning and hunger, including a hunger for stories and language. Sophia, How to Say Babylon, your gorgeously written memoir, I think of it as a weemoir, not a memoir, weaves stories and histories, her stories and maps a world through incandescent language, even for those, as you write, yet to come. You are all brilliant and young with so much ahead, and we, the judges, and all of us tonight eagerly await your next book. And now the moment we've all been waiting for, the overall winner of the Bocas, OMS Bocas. Okay. Sorry. I'm so nervous. I'm like, okay, let's start again. The OCM Bocas Prize overall winner is How to Say Babylon by Sophia Sinclair.
Do I leave? Okay. Thank you so much. Kind of shocked. Thank you to everyone. Every time I come to Trinidad, I fall more in love with it, which as a Jamaican, is not an easy feat, but thank you so much. Thank you to the Bocas Lit Fest and to the Bocas Prize judges for this torch of encouragement, for your vote of confidence in me, and for your constant support of Caribbean writers and Caribbean literature. Thank you to the entire amazing Bocas crew. You always make me feel at home. Everything I write and dream and imagine is for the Caribbean. I wrote How to Say Babylon for all the Caribbean women whose works and deeds so often go unseen and unsung. Women who are overlooked and forgotten in the margins of history. I wrote this book for all the Caribbean women who gave us the wildfire of our dialects, our memory, and our folklore. And in many ways, too, I wrote this book for my father and the Rasta brethren like him who gave me the fire of my linguistic rebellion to say what I mean and mean what I say. I wrote this in hopes that my father may understand me a little bit better, that he might finally hear me. I wrote this book for my siblings, my brother Lidge, and my sisters Ife and Shari. I'm so thankful for their strength, their laughter, their hope, the sunlight we found somehow, somewhere under the shadow of our circumstance. And I wrote this book for Montego Bay, Jamaica, the red poinciana I was born under, the blue sound and music of my Caribbean sea. I want to congratulate my fellow finalists and winners, Nicole Seeley, my love, and Kevin Jared Hussein. I'm also thankful for the inspiration of so many writers who paved the way for me and who made this writing life possible for so many of us. Thank you so much, Edwige Danticat. Thank you, Sylvia Winter, Lorna Goodison, Jamaica Kincaid, Maurice Condé, Dion Brand. Thank you. My biggest thanks also to writers like Shivani Ramlachan, Christina Sharp, and Anne-Margaret Lim for the inspiration of your words. Thank you to my coven, my sisters in arms, Nicole Seeley again, and Kinesia Lubrin. I love you both so much. Even though you both drove away and left me in the first bus tonight. With you, with all of you, we continue to create this matriarchal language. And with you, I'm weaving my small part of the sister lore. I want to say, being born in someone else's idea of paradise, we're often encouraged not to dream too far, not to think too big. But I think the very essence of being Caribbean is that when we're told what is impossible, we still reach for the sun anyway. I wrote this book for all of you, for home. I write in hope that we may continue to defy colonial powers and continue to interrogate the violent history and the narratives that we were handed. I wish to see an end to colonial violence across the world and an end to the horrific genocide in Gaza. I dream to see a free Palestine in my lifetime, a free Congo, a free Sudan, a free Haiti. When Columbus came to this archipelago that he miscategorized the West Indies, he also miscategorized the natives he found there as Caribes, cannibals. And perhaps there is some sense that this is what we are as Caribbean, ferocious in our survival, because we fight for our land, our life, and our selfhood. Every freedom song is ours, forged in the whale of history. Finally, I want to thank my mother, who might be watching on the live stream if she hasn't fallen asleep yet. Thank you, Mom, for first igniting the fire of poetry in me, for paving the way to make all of this possible. Thank you for showing me how to read the sea like a poem. It was you who first taught me that as long as I knew the memory of the waves, I could never be lost. As long as I listened to the voice of the sea, I would always find my way back home. And like Walcott said, I write the sea because the sea is history. Thank you.
Congratulations, Sophia Sinclair. But please don't go too far. We'd like to invite you back up as Douglas Wilson and Marina Salandi Brown present you with your prize. A minor wardrobe malfunction. It's the shoes specifically. Marina, you coming? Yes.
Sorry about that. I was hoping they wouldn't work. So I wouldn't be so short. Okay. That's it? Yes, thank you.
All right, so the formal part of this evening is almost over, and of course, we're all eager to celebrate with our winners. But before we close, please welcome Thackeray Dax Driver, member of the Board of Directors of the Bocas Lit Fest, to give a vote of thanks.
Thank you very much. My original opening line had been, "On this beautiful night, Caribbean literature has never felt more alive," but with the neighbours' music coming in, I think I'm going to change that. "On this beautiful Caribbean night, literature has never felt more alive." I'm very happy on behalf of our founder and president, Marina Solandi Brown, my fellow directors of the board of Bocas Literary Festival, the organisers of the OCM Bocas Prize for Caribbean Literature, and the NGC Bocas Lit Fest team to offer this vote of thanks to everyone who has helped make this prize ceremony and this festival of words, stories, and ideas a living legacy. And there's many of them, so I'm afraid this is quite a long vote of thanks. First of all, immense thanks to all 9 of our judges for the 2024 OCM Bocas Prize for Caribbean Literature, led by the Chief Judge, Edwidge Danticat. You brought passion, dedication, no small amount of persistence to reading dozens of books on a tight deadline and reflecting on them so thoughtfully. We are deeply grateful for your labor and insight and the fruit it has borne. Thank you to Esperanza Alta for providing this delightful venue, to Michael Buckner for his moving tribute reading, to Richard Barrow for his exquisite pan performance. I should just say that I sent, because the wonders of technology, I sent Mark a recording of it, and he was very moved to hear it. So thank you to Richard. And of course, thanks to our formidable MC, Ardene Sirjoo, a longtime festival friend and a lover of literature. To Mrs. Dawn Thomas, represented this evening by Douglas Wilson and One Caribbean Media, we express our ongoing and profoundest thanks. You were here from the start, and your commitment to this prize has been life-changing for dozens of Caribbean writers. Thank you, too, for OCM's steadfastness in keeping the public's attention and interest tuned into our events. Tonight is a true highlight of this literary weekend, but of course, the OCM Bocas Prize is just one event of the much larger NGC Bocas Lit Fest, made possible by the dedicated support of our sponsors. Predominantly, we salute and commend the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago, our title sponsor, whose indefatigable support makes not only the annual festival possible, but also much of the year-round work of the Bocas Lit Fest in developing writers and readers of all ages. Particular thanks to Dan Martino for your thoughtful remarks this evening, and to the NGC team of Lisa Burkett, Miles Lewis, and Natalie Phipps, with whom we work closely. I'd like to add a special tribute to Jeanette Elias of NGC, who first saw the value in funding this festival. Jeanette passed away recently, but I think we need to just pay a tribute to her. Without her support, this festival would not exist, and the renaissance of Caribbean literature, which this festival has spawned, would not exist. Thank you to the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and the Arts for your invaluable support, to First Citizens, sponsors of the National Poetry Slam, which closes the festival in epic style tomorrow, and to the British Council for your continued encouragement and financial support. Our thanks to the J.B. Fernandez Memorial Trust for your enthusiastic involvement in our youth-led initiatives. For 14 years, the Massey Foundation and the University of the West Indies St. Augustine Campus Faculty of Humanities and Education have provided backing for our work. We are extremely appreciative of your commitment. Our festival program is rich, expansive, and diverse only because of the help of our many partners, national and international. A huge thank you to NALIS for ensuring that the National Library remains our very special festival home, and to Creative Caribbean, the collaboration between UNESCO, CARICOM, and the University of the West Indies, funded by the European Union and supported by the ACP states. 5 regional fellows are at the festival thanks to your breakthrough program. To the Port of Spain City Corporation, the Canadian High Commission, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, thank you for your tangible support for this year's festival. We are delighted to have you on board. To our friends at CAISO, the Cropper Foundation, Novel Niche, the Writers Union, Friends of Mr. Biswas, 24P, and the Caribbean Books Foundation, who have all contributed to the festival program. To Peepal Tree Press, Ian Rambler Publishers, and all of the other publishers of Caribbean writing, without whom there would be no books to read and to celebrate. To our festival booksellers, for ensuring these books reach our eager hands, and to our ongoing partners at COSTAT for assisting us via the student internship program. You're noticing now, no doubt, that the long list of supporters is extensive, which is a testimony to the remarkable goodwill surrounding our NGO, the Bocas Literary Festival. And I'm not quite done with expressing gratitude to all of them yet. Thanks to our festival sponsors in kind, Pinguino, Cocobel, Twigs Naturals, Cinnabon, Sunshine Snacks, SM Jalil, the House of Angostura, Solera, and Massey Distribution, as well as our media partners, Lonsdale Saatchi & Saatchi, and TTT. There is no way to end a vote of thanks without thanking the engine room of the festival itself, the Bocas Lit Fest team. We've seen some of them bustling about on the front lines, others have been working hard behind the scenes. So to Nicholas Lachlan, John-Claude Cornan, Giovanni Ramachan, Mariella Forbes, Maria Tapin, Melvina Hazard, Alette Liz Williams, Stefan Rampasad, Neela Bhagwan Singh, Chinier Herbert, Maria Bleasdale, Dwayne Dubry, Jaden Phillip, Maya Ramsar, Joan Dasent, and Patrice Matthews, and to everybody else on the incredibly hard-working team of festival staff and volunteers. Thank you to Atia Douglas and the First Citizens National Poetry Slam team, to Cedric Smart and the CS Audio team for the program, for the sound engineering, to J-Ron Remy and Aegon Thompson for the sound for tonight's ceremony, North 11 for the festival screen programming, Impact Media and Phoenix Pro for running our live stream, our festival photographers, Marlon James and Sean Rambaran, graphic designer Richard Rawlins, webmaster James Barber, and all our event coordinators for this evening, led by Sonia Hernandez. Of course, none of this effort would be possible without our writers, our speakers, and our performers. Thank you all for making words come alive, for sharing your craft so generously, and thank you to each storyteller and performer who regaled children with the marvelous tales during our story caravan across Trinidad and Tobago. You've heard many names and organizations listed here tonight, and the list extends beyond these. It would be impossible to name each person who contributes meaningfully to the Bocas Literary Festival. Ours is a vast collective enterprise. We assure you all of our lasting gratitude. And finally, thanks to our audience in person and online, all of you who come to the festival to listen, learn, respond, quarrel with history, share your words and ideas. We do this for and with you. Your presence and enthusiasm reminds us that our stories have always mattered. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Dax. And now I get to tell you how much I enjoyed being your MC this evening. Congratulations again to all the awardees. The good news is that there is still a full day of the festival left. Of course, tomorrow You can look forward to events featuring Edwidge Dantican, Nicole Seeley, and Kevin Jarrett Hussein, plus book launches, discussions, readings, you know the drill, and the first Citizens National Poetry Slam Finals, which takes place at Queen's Hall tomorrow night, when TNT's most outstanding spoken word poets will vie for the 2024 title and the $50,000 TT cash prize. So, without any further ado, I'm not going to keep you from the celebration. Do enjoy. Have a good night.